Good afternoon. Welcome to the San Diego Community College District Chancellor's Forum. This is our third and final day, and with us today we have Dr. Daisy Gonzales. So Dr. Gonzales, we have several questions for you, some of which was asked by our audience members, and you will have 1 hour to answer these questions. Prior to us beginning, would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, first, thank you, Amy, and everyone who has made today possible. It is an honor to be here with all of you today, and I want to make sure that I also thank the screening committee for seeing something in me, which is what brought me here today. Good afternoon, everyone. It is an And I also want to make sure to just say thank you. Buenas tardes a todos. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Es un honor poder compartir en este momento con todos ustedes. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. I want to start off first as I think about this question by not just saying who I am, but why I want to serve all of you, why I want to serve San Diego Community College District and this broader community that we all live in. I am a servant leader. I lead by being inclusive, collaborative, by empowering people. My moral compass is social justice. It's work that I have led from being a third grade dual immersion teacher and the work that I did to make sure that my students could have meals during the summertime, to the work that I led at the statewide level as an assembly budget consultant, leading and helping the state of California through a fiscal crisis with the responsibility of overseeing $11.2 billion with a B in health and human services, to the work that I get to do today as Deputy Chancellor, as acting and interim Chancellor, in setting the enabling conditions for student success across 116 colleges and 73 districts. But I am also a proud California Community College alum. I'm here because I want to give back. At the age of 15, I arrived at a California community college. I had grown up in the foster care system, and I learned every day in the foster care system in LA County that the most I should ever dream of for my life was to not end up dead, pregnant, or in prison. I was 15 when I arrived at a community college, and I was dropped off at 6:30 in the morning and told that I needed to figure out how to enroll. A classified professional, a groundskeeper, saved my life. He came up to me 3 different times and asked if I needed help. I was very young. I was a foster youth, and I didn't really trust people. So on the 3rd time, I said, yes, I need help. He walked me over to the admissions office, gave me his best advice on who the best counselor was, and gave me advice to avoid private loans, period. I'm sharing that with you because that experience taught me that when we choose to work at a California community college, we are all educators, but it begins with a sense of belonging for our students, for our faculty, and our staff. So I'm standing in front of you because I am a servant leader that believes that every student can succeed. I am a servant leader who sees something in your community. I moved here for love a year ago, when my husband accepted a job in K-12. And I've had the opportunity to witness your community over the last year. And I want to share with you what I have witnessed. I have witnessed a community that is committed to social justice, and not just committed, that has a long history of action that leads towards transforming an entire community. Not just that, but when we educate a single person, we are combating poverty, generational poverty. I see that in your community. That is what I have witnessed. I have also witnessed a community that is dedicated to ensuring that the lived reality that you all live, living in a binational community, is a reality that inspires you to create change. You don't see that border as something that divides you. You see that border as an opportunity to nurture, to seed what needs to become a reality for your community, for your students. And for me, as an educator, I see and I have witnessed how you as a district are innovators, faculty and staff who got this entire district through a global pandemic, who is innovating in credit for prior learning, competency-based education, and is centering student basic needs at the center. I'm here because I see all of that in you, and I want to serve you. I want to serve you with dignity and compassion. I am someone that can lead a vision but I am also someone that can operationalize a vision, and together we can accomplish everything that we think might be impossible. Thank you.
Okay, first question. Many of the students who attend our colleges come from various disadvantaged background. To name a few, former foster youth, just as impacted, and undocumented individuals and students. So what would you propose for a district with a very diverse student population? And what is your experience working with special populations?
Thank you for the question. I think one of the most important things that I can share with you today is in you, I've just shared what I have witnessed. You are a community that doesn't sit around waiting for the state and federal government to define the word or the groups of students that are special populations. I have extensive experience designing for the success of special populations at the statewide level. And what that means for me and in the roles that I have served in is ensuring that we are adequately resourcing those intervention programs while staying focused on a broader vision, our vision to transform institutions and creating a culture of belonging. So let me tell you a little bit about the work that I've done statewide. It's important for us to first know that a special population also includes our LGBTQ plus students, our DSPS students, Umoja students, our adult learners, our students with dependents. We need to be thinking more broadly. Our students who are undocumented, our refugee students, they all bring different lived experiences. And when we are open access institutions, we recognize that. We see that intersectionality. We see them as a whole student. Statewide, I have first made sure that we are accessing all of the resources that are possible for our students, working hand in hand with programs like Puente and Mesa and Umoja and Aid to Mend. My experience has been, number one, they are the innovators, they are the experts in serving, quote unquote, our special populations. Our EOPS program is a critical program. As a part of that work, though, resources are only a first part of the solution. And statewide, I have expanded multiple programs, not just making sure that we can have COLAs as a part of the programs, but working in community with an entire system to advocate for programs to be expanded. Next up is a critical program that serves foster youth. That was a pilot. That's typically how the state funds programs, by the way. Pilot first, then we expanded. That happened 2 years ago during my service as interim chancellor. From rising scholars to Next Up, to seeding new innovations to create cultures of belonging, LGBTQ plus centers as a pilot, all of that work is intervention work. How do we urgently provide a solution? And I have done that by securing resources and supporting our system to do that work. Then we focus on the real problem. How do we actually scale this work? That's the work that I have led statewide in partnership with an entire system. And when I say an entire system, it's our academic senate, our student senate leaders, our classified professionals, all 116 CEOs and 73 districts. That is everyone. And then our coalitions, our allies who care about the same population. That global work that I have led, and I think is also the work of the future of this district, is thinking about affordable housing. Last year, we led a task force at the State Chancellor's office to integrate affordable housing as a key requirement and a part of the mission of California's community colleges. Why did we do that? In order to secure a funding source. A part of the work, since that's a part of question two, part two of the question, is then now about ensuring that we make sure that the state legislature meets their commitment to actually fund affordable housing. And then having a plan B in mind and a bigger vision to know this is not about affordable housing in one college. For this district, every student deserves housing. Every student at every campus in every part of our community. That's the broader vision. Affordable housing is one of those broader scaled strategies for this community. Then we need to stay focused on direct aid for our students. Your San Diego Promise program is critical to that work. But there are other programs that can also help your students here. A part of the innovation in the last 3 years was nurturing programs like the College Corps, a program that can also be used to serve undocumented students. and it provides students a $10,000 scholarship when they volunteer in their community. So when they volunteer in education and climate change, when they volunteer in food pantries, nurturing College Corps here is a critical solution for how we provide students direct aid. We can't predict every emergency, but transforming Cal Grant and providing College Corps to our students here will make a difference when we think about persistence and success. The other bigger solution is really our ecosystem of belonging. DEIA is the work that we need to be doing as a community, because every single student, no matter who they are interacting with, should feel a sense of belonging in a campus. The innovation here and the opportunity for this community is how you think about this work in a different way. What would it look like to partner with K through 12 to create a TK16 collaborative, a program that the state actually funded 2 years ago in 5 other regions, not San Diego, yet. We're going to say yet. But that funded regions to do this work, to create a handoff, a system of belonging in this community should be from TK to 16. That's a part of the work that I see. So it is localized when we think about counseling, programs, direct aid, but then always staying focused on how we do this work at scale.
Thank you. So continuing the conversation in DEIA, what efforts have you made for recruitment and retention with the DEIA focus?
I wish we had like 2 hours.
Well, we have an hour.
I've been leading this work since 2018 in partnership with our academic senate, our student senate, our classified professionals, our labor partners at the table, everyone that participates at the State Chancellor's Office Consultation Council. It is a labor of love. It is also my academic expertise in sociology. So a lot of the solutions that have been deployed statewide have been a part of my academic research. The work that I have led in partnership with our entire system is work that we nurtured from making sure that our policies, like creating a DIA regulation as a part of a requirement of this system, was only step 1. So working together as the chair of the DIA implementation work group, as the co-chair of the DIA task force, and then being bold enough to change and transform and learn. We learned in the middle of the pandemic when our students approached us and said, you keep using DEI. What about DIA? What happened to accessibility? What happened to anti-racism? We had to learn as educators and grow. We've led that work, at the same time integrating it to equal employment opportunity. So the question directly is about what have I done statewide? From building a regulatory solution to actually funding the innovation, $50 million in an investment to actually allow our colleges to transform their districts, to deploying professional development and technical assistance, which is the work that now begins to influence and that all of you have been engaged in. We think about this work in 3 key areas when we think about recruitment and retention. Number 1, we think about our pre-hiring processes. As a part of the work that I have led in partnership with our system, has been making sure that we are arming our districts with handbooks. And literally, I think earlier this year, we deployed our 10-point program, our plan to diversify faculty. That was an effort by an entire system, by our academic senate leaders at the table, by our HR professionals coming up with solutions. But in the pre-hiring area, it included strategies that I see here in this district. Strategies like, why are we asking for a criminal history when we are actually serving justice-involved students and we wish to hire people to be mentors for our students who are currently incarcerated and formerly incarcerated? Could that be a question that we ask at level 2? And have we provided those individuals who are applying the opportunity to then explain how they have been rehabilitated? Why are we collecting recommendation letters in writing when we know that we want to attract and recruit first-generation individuals to work at our colleges? And we know that there is a difference when we think about social capital. That's in the pre-hiring area. We also then think about the hiring process. We often hear about the lack of diversity in career technical education and how hard it is to recruit our faculty and staff in those areas. One of the strategies that we deployed was asking our academic senates to review their equivalency processes. to not only formally have those processes more than once a year, but to think deeply about equivalency with an equity lens. As a part of that work in the hiring process, we also encouraged colleges to integrate the student voice as a part of the hiring process. And when it comes to retention, professional development, mentorship, innovative strategies to think about the way that you conduct climate surveys on a regular basis, how you create an equal employment opportunity plan as a community, willing to accept the data that you are seeing, and then mobilizing together to do something about it. Those are the retention strategies that make a difference. I've also led that work by then personally investing in my own team. You don't have to look too far. If you Google my team, it is an incredible, phenomenal team at the State Chancellor's office, and I'm very proud of them. But a part of that work was then empowering a pipeline at the statewide level. I'll only share one program that I have deployed, but there are many, many. From the LIFT program statewide that serves classified professionals, to caring campuses, to partnering with FAC, the Faculty Association of Community Colleges, to make sure that part-time faculty have access to professional development. But I am most proud of a program that I help support by literally empowering faculty to lead it. And it's called Pipelines to Possibilities. It's a program inspired by African-American faculty who had a vision to bring back alums back to work at California's community colleges. These are graduates from HBCU programs with a master's and PhD degree. And the program provides a mentor as well as provides a long-term relationship to on-ramp them and help them navigate our hiring processes. That is how we do recruitment and retention at scale and in an intentional way that treats people with dignity and compassion.
Next question is from a member of our audience. Please describe how you have promoted a campus or district climate that is free from harassment and offers supportive measures as part of Title IX.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to localize it because my lens is a statewide lens, obviously. The Board of Governors, the board that oversees all 116 colleges, 73 districts, is responsible and is a part of the last stop in an appeals process for Title IX. So I, over the last 6 years, have been a part of that process for all cases related to Title IX. In addition to that, a part of our work when federal law changes is about deploying and transforming our regulatory processes, only to then turn around and arm our districts and our colleges with professional development, technical assistance. All of that work has been a part of my portfolio at the State Chancellor's office, from making sure that we have a Vision Resource Center training for all HR professionals, to having the conversations across all of our consultation council meetings related to any changes. I'm sharing that with you because that is the structures that guide us, right? The deep understanding that this work begins first and foremost by understanding that we have a zero tolerance, and we have very clear policies and procedures that guard those processes. We also have a broader culture that we must uphold. And as a part of having a community trust us, we must invest the resources to make sure that this work is systematic and consistent. So let me walk through the cultural work. The cultural work looks like integrating incidents like these and transforming our broader culture when we think about this through our DIA work, through our belonging work. That is culture, making sure that individuals understand that when we mean safe, we mean safe. When we think about policies and procedures, your board has very clear policies as well as state and federal policies related to this. But when you think about policies, the real work is making sure that they are clear, that they are transparent, and that we are being fair when we deploy them. That means urgency in addressing every case is really important for people to trust us and for healing to take place. The last part of the work is resources. When we think about a district like yours and all districts across the state of California, this work is centering how we think about the future. Yes, we focus on the work that needs to happen to help survivors. We also focus on providing professional development and actually staffing the departments that need to take place and that need to prioritize this work. But more importantly, a broader sense of professional development and technical assistance because we own this work together. That is what culture means. We own this work together.
Thank you. The next few questions relate to leadership. And the first one I'm going to ask is from a community member. Please share examples of how you have supported women, regardless of their student, staff, or faculty, in advancing their success in community college.
I'm very proud to say that all of my assistants have left me within a year because they have gone on to earn master's degrees. One of them is the youngest dean in the state agency. So number one, I need you to know that when I say I am a servant leader and I lead to be inclusive, collaborative, and to empower, it literally means my own team as well. In fact, I love mentoring. I love mentoring. So from that scale to a broader scale, on the other end, I lead work like the Women's Equity Summit. It's a program that we just launched statewide. There are several cohorts, and it's done in partnership with Dr. Yasmin Davids. And she is walking every single member of that cohort through an empowerment opportunity. The most beautiful part about that work is that it is an incredibly diverse group of women through multiple cohorts across regions. And what they are realizing is that they have more in common than they ever thought. And they're beginning to do the healing work that most women need when they attempt to enter the workforce. It is still very much a male-dominated workforce in many of these areas. I also lead this work by intentionally thinking about the middle, right? How am I empowering my own team? If you look at the state chancellor's office, you look at a very large population of women who work at the state chancellor's office, and that work is done by empowering them. I invest in all of my executives through executive mentorship. My entire team, from deans to assistant vice chancellors to specialists, are really the problem solvers that we need for tomorrow. That is how you create a pipeline. And a part of my work has been investing in them, from executive leadership to strategic planning, so that I am building a sustainable pipeline of leaders. Externally, that work also happens by setting expectations for our partners. And here's what I mean by that. We invest in a lot of different professional development at the statewide level across districts. And a part of empowering women in all different populations is in making sure that when we say the Wheelhouse Fellowship, which trains the next generation of CEOs, or the league partnership that we have to train chancellors and CEOs, are actually intentionally thinking about their curriculum as they are attempting to serve more diverse populations. We set that expectation. That's a part of the pipeline work that needs to happen. So I need you to know, from how I interact as a co-leader, right, side by side, it is to empower others. How I do this work at scale, but then also focus in the middle. It's always about empowering others, and you have to invest in people to do that work, but especially if you want them to succeed and to trust you and to give their best to our students.
You spoke a little bit about partners and partnerships. Can you expand upon what your current leadership engagement is with the communities you serve?
Thank you. This is a beautiful transition to that. Every opportunity that I have to serve in really fits in two key areas for me. The first is, how does it help me achieve the mission, the vision, or the values of the organization that I lead? The second is, how am I intentionally creating a pipeline? We can't do this work alone. So part of my work is building a pipeline and bringing along my team. Literally, when I am invited to serve in a role, it doesn't matter what it is, I always contemplate, how does it help me achieve a mission? And is there a better fit for this organization? Is it my academic Senate president? Is it my student Senate president? That's how we create the next generation of leaders. I have the honor of serving at the statewide level because that is my lens currently, of serving in the Governor's Council for Post-Secondary Education. It's a council that convenes all leaders in higher education, including our labor partners and all of our state agencies related to workforce and economic development. That is the space where we create solutions for higher education and economic development. I also serve in what we call the Intersegmental Coordinating Council. This is a council that convenes all of the deputies across higher education, and is the space where we problem solve across systems. Most recently, we addressed our baccalaureate degree concerns from our four-year partners. I also serve, because that's a priority for our system and for this district, I also serve in ACCJC, the Accrediting Commission for Colleges and Junior Colleges. I have served in that role for the last 5 years. And as a part of that work, it took me 3 years, but as a part of that work, it's the reason why we have a social justice standard. A standard that is aligned to the mission and values of California's community colleges and our DIA work, which we adopted in regulations, that all of our colleges will now have to address in their accreditation. Those are the formal roles that I serve in. On the informal side, it's the work that I do to mentor others, the professional development that I lead, how I empower others to serve. All of my team members serve in different commissions related to labor. It's all aligned to the work that we are trying to do.
Next question is from a member of our audience, and this relates to leadership style. If you were selected as the next chancellor of this district, how would you ensure accountability at all levels of leadership and prevent any misuse of power? Or should I say potential misuse of power? Got it.
It starts at the top. Accountability is very important to the work that we do. And the way that we know that we have achieved accountability, right, and that we are doing the right thing is the work that we see when I run into our staff and faculty at colleges, when I see staff in our hallways even today, and they're able to greet me. That's culture work, right? So we hold our leaders accountable for culture. That's why climate surveys are so important. On the other end of this is the outcomes. How are our students doing? What do our demographics of diversity look like in our work environment? For me, those are really key indicators on whether we have accountability, especially in an organization that is meant to serve at scale and should be an open access institution. Accountability then becomes about being honest and courageous about what we are seeing. And then the most important part for me, did we take action? One example that I can give you in our equal employment opportunity plans that we deployed and in those changes in regulations, we actually integrated a best practice. That practice was a CEO, a chancellor should be responsible for advancing DEIA and all student outcomes. It starts at the top because then you can operationalize this transformation and it begins to integrate into every department. But the broader work is culture. Accountability starts with self-accountability, being accountable for your actions, your interactions, then building the pipeline, the policies and processes that enable the transformation to be held accountable so that you can then transform your outcomes.
Next few questions, campaign and bonds. Tell us about your experience managing bond campaigns and funds.
Okay, I love this topic. I have a lot of experience both on the campaign side, but then also in overseeing bonds. And I first want to talk about what it means for this community, because we should be using every single opportunity. This is a really key priority for your district. I have watched all of your board meetings and your agendas. And so we will use every opportunity to practice. A local bond is an opportunity. No, not an opportunity. A local bond is how San Diego Community College District will create state-of-the-art facilities for instructional and career education training. It is the way that San Diego Community College District will modernize its facilities to address accessibility and safety. In this community, local bonds are an opportunity to meet the basic needs of our students, like housing, and to empower our faculty and staff to inspire and create the future of work, which means that we can then train our students to have the jobs of tomorrow. So in this community, a local bond is about social justice. A local bond is about economic vitality. I've served on both roles as a political campaign strategist for the state of California, leading campaign finance education. This is all the work that I had to do. If you work for state government, but particularly in the state assembly, you do a lot of after hours work and weekend work. And my job and role was to help prioritize the statewide bonds for the state assembly. My work resulted in not just outreach, but working across partners, so nurturing statewide partnerships with labor, our trades councils, civic engagement communities, employers, industry, to prioritize assembly state-related bonds. As a part of that work, I also convened forums, educational forums, so that we could have those conversations statewide, and reviewed all written materials related to the bonds. On the oversight side, I have had the responsibility as a budget consultant to oversee all health and human services capital outlay. All of those programs and facility investments are done through a PLA, all of them. And as a part of that work, my job was to provide transparent information to the public and support our health and human services agencies to keep on track and to stay on budget with their facilities improvements. Currently, as a deputy chancellor, I get to work with 73 districts and advise them on any state-related bond. So we also have state-related bonds, and many of those districts reach out to our office, number one, to provide us the information that we need to provide transparent information to voters. But two, at the statewide level, a lot of this work is also about the reappropriation of dollars, especially when projects are delayed or there is a cost change. So then it becomes an issue of advocating on behalf of a district. What I can tell you is that I have experience. It is very much applicable to the work here. And the work here is about getting clear on the purpose of a local bond, social justice, economic vitality, getting clear on the projects that are priority for this community. There's a lot of support out there. There was just a PPIC study that shared that while Californians have a low confidence in how they can survive in this economy, right? Everyone's expecting a fiscal cliff. They have, 82% of them said they have extreme confidence that community colleges, particularly career education training programs, need more resources. So when we think about those projects, we are leaning into that information. Then we need to be thinking about our partnerships. In this community, it's all of our elected officials. It's all of our nonprofits. It's our K through 12 partners, because we are building a pipeline to the future in this community. And it's all of us, everyone in this room, working together to mobilize around a local bond. And the last piece is then the real work begins, and we have to work to provide transparent information and meet the commitment that we have made to our community.
And looking at funding broadly, what is your philosophy around and your experience with securing outside funds for the district?
Got it. I think it's important for me to share that I take no dollar for granted as long as it is aligned with our mission, our vision, and our values. I've had the honor of representing California's community colleges over the last 6 years in federal government, state government, with philanthropy. Over the time of my service over the last 6 years, our funding resources have increased, an additional $4 billion at the statewide level. And I have fundraised $143 million from philanthropy, primarily dollars for direct aid to our students, scholarships. I lead that work at the statewide level and with a lens to really think about how we make our best case, particularly if we expect a fiscal crisis, right? We think about how the government likes to fund projects and programs. They like pilots. So a lot of the original work begins with seeding an innovation by being ready to provide innovation while at the same time showing outcomes so that we can make a bigger, better case for long-term funding. I gave you some examples earlier, but a part of it is the equal employment opportunity dollars, the historic investment, all of the COVID-19 block grants, HER funds at the federal level, but then always keeping track of the inequality when we dole out resources, meaning HER funds originally, and your district was incredible in partnering with us, could not be used with students with disabilities, veterans, or undocumented students. when that came out. And so as you're thinking about resources, there are always strings attached, particularly with philanthropy. And so that's where things come in when you have to ask yourself, does it align with our mission, our vision, and our values? A part of this work is not just securing the resources, but being able to lead a vision that is bigger than the dollars that are in front of us. And I see really key opportunities for all of you in this community, from how we secure sustainable funding for affordable housing, to how we bring in an innovation that was launched. I mentioned it to you, the TK16 project, to College Corps, which is $10,000 in the pockets of our students, to really thinking about how we lead this work differently. And I know there are many more questions, so I'll stop there.
It's interesting that you brought up securing resources because the next question is about technology. So technology is a critical and expensive piece for the district. In your mind, how would you fund technology needs in order to prepare us for the future and make sure that we are prepared?
Yeah. I think we have a lot of catch up to do. And that's the beauty of the pandemic and what it taught us about our new definition for technology, right? Not just a need, but really thinking critically about how behind we have been because we have not invested, the bigger we, meaning resources have not been provided, right? And so when it comes to then thinking about how we resource it, we really have to be clear on the definition, right? It's everything from laptops to hotspots to then thinking about instructional and non-instructional software, and then really centralizing the fact that buying it and purchasing it is only step one of the cost. Then you have to deploy it. That's professional development. Then you always need maintenance. And what you start to realize with maintenance is very costly, and that technology maybe no longer serves as well, which makes it even more expensive when you have to discontinue and operate two different systems at the same time. All of those things become accessibility issues. They become equity issues. And that's what we learned during this pandemic, right? We still see those things today. But how would I fund it? It makes me think of everything, first of all, through a fiscal lens, because I'm a former budget consultant. Step one would be to understand your long-range planning for technology. And I know you have a shared governance process, you have a council, you have technology plans at the district level and in campuses. So deeply understanding the needs of each campus, and then beginning to have a conversation about whether there's an opportunity to bundle technology costs, to think about this in a different way. There may be some cost savings, there may not be. The second solution that we could consider as a community is really thinking through how we integrate it to our local bond. You have incredible examples of that, of how you have used local bonds to fund your technology needs. The third one is really looking at all the resources that have been deployed, 100 million in 2022-23, an additional 30 million 2023-2024. A lot of those dollars went to our districts, but there are still some dollars at the statewide level. So how do we as a district volunteer to innovate, to help the state fund our technology cost by saying we can do that? We will test out the technology for an entire system. That's the third solution. The fourth one is really our advocacy, being able to make the case, but not just that, really thinking through how when we advocate, it becomes first and foremost about our students. So advocacy is always a solution. And then lastly, I want to just share that maybe the solution is in our own backyard. I had the honor of visiting Miramar College when I was in an interim chancellor role, and I got to go to your innovation lab where I met a faculty member who had created technology for an online classroom with an equity lens. And the students loved it. So it makes me wonder how maybe we pay by empowering our students, our faculty and staff to create the technology of tomorrow. And that means partnering with industry, with nonprofits, with the state. I think a part of one, staying relevant, but then thinking about the future requires us to have all kinds of solutions while keeping the bigger vision in mind. And that is predicting the future. And I share that because I think another option is also with artificial intelligence. How do we begin to lead that work? Could San Diego Community College District become a hub for the rest of the state to innovate, particularly as it relates to artificial intelligence in accreditation, in student learning outcomes, Technology has a lot of opportunities, and yet at the same time, we have to address the inequality, the accessibility that comes with it. But I know together we can come up with those solutions.
Next question is from a member of our audience. How can we better engage local employers and align our programs to meet their needs?
Thank you. I think that is the work that you have all already started. So I just want to recognize the incredible work that is already happening at your colleges. From being able to work with employers to meet transportation needs of your students with labor partners, to thinking about innovative programs in competency-based education, and then adopting short-term courses to meet the workforce needs of tomorrow. So the work is already happening here. My role as Chancellor would be to support that work, to strengthen that work, and to deepen that work. What I mean by that is, as we convene to really think about how we work with employers and align our programs, it begins with us. Do we have the data? Have we spent the time to do the strategic planning as a community, as colleges? I think about our workforce deans and the critical role that they must play as we think about this work. The other component of the work is then, yes, you make the ask, but you don't just show up to make an ask. You have to have a vision to bring on employers and align your programs. You need to be able to show a vision and what you need from them. Sometimes it's an investment to fund our very expensive technology. Sometimes we need them to fund paid work-based learning because our students deserve to be paid, period. And sometimes it means getting them to make a commitment. That is what it means for us to lead and align workforce needs, and then empowering them because we need them, right, to be successful, and our community needs to be successful, to join us in a coalition to do broader advocacy, whether it's a state or federal level or at the local level. I share that with you because that's the work that I have been leading since I moved here to San Diego. I had the honor of meeting many different people. I've lived here for over a year, and I met a man. His name was Doug Moore. He's the executive director of United Domestic Workers. And he shared with me, and this is related to workforce, I promise. He shared with me that his employees, all of his members, IHSS workers, childcare providers, were some of the lowest paid San Diegans. That became very important to me. When I first met him, I didn't know how we were going to figure this out, but I said, we need to do something about this. Here in your community, 65% of low-income jobs are held by people of color. So we look at our data. Then we know that out of those 65%, 68 are held by women of color. Then we look at partnerships like UDW, and we say, wow, 78% of your members who make $17 an hour as IHSS providers are women of color. That is a partnership worth launching. It's the work that I have been leading to bring education to UDW members, 171,000 of them, and their dependents. And on average, they have 2 or more dependents. That's important for me. And as I look at aligning programs, but more importantly, helping more San Diegans and Californians get access to education, because you have to see the whole student and you want to serve the whole family, because that's our superpower as community colleges. We literally can empower an entire family from non-credit to credit to lifelong learning. That is a superpower of San Diego Community College District. And that's the work that I want to help lead alongside you.
I only have one more question. You ready? Yeah. Okay, it's a 2-part question. This last question is from a member of our audience. If you were selected to be the next chancellor of this district, how do you respond to concerns about lack of leadership management roles at a community college? And what kind of internal buy-in do you think that you would need?
Thank you. You know, I mentioned that I was a former K-12 teacher, a fiscal expert for the state assembly, managing $11.2 billion. I didn't have experience as an administrator. So I can tell you a lot about what I did when I arrived at the chancellor's office. I led with humility. I led to empower others. I led by inspiring others. You can expect that of me because I will always ask you to contribute your skills and your talents to make our district, our colleges, our community a better place. But more importantly, when we choose to work at California's community colleges, we are always growth mindset leaders. That is what it means to be an educator. You can't ever stop learning. So when I think about having the honor of serving all of you, we will do that work together, respecting our roles, our authority, our responsibilities, empower our shared governance process, prioritizing our relationships with our labor partners, because it's the right thing to do, because there's a human being on the other end. So when I think about the type of leader that you need someone who can lead a vision and can operationalize it. It's one thing to inspire, but can you roll up your sleeves to actually lead the work? I have done that. You're also a community that has a really big strategic plan that has to work, that is deeply aligned to the work that is happening at the statewide level, from reaching new students, like dual enrollment students, justice impacted students, adult learners, veterans, students with disabilities. That's the work that you're leading here. I know how to do that work, and I know how to resource it. I have done that at the statewide level through policy resource, through federal, state, and philanthropy, but I am also a political strategist. And what I can tell you about that experience is that I will be a fierce advocate for this district. Everything else, that is the expertise that I will rely on. I will rely on your consultation. I will rely on your expertise. But together, we will be unstoppable. Together, we will ensure that we can secure enough resources, that we have empowered everyone in our district, that we have dismantled policy barriers, whether they exist in district policies at the statewide level or at the federal level. I have like a long list of policy barriers that we can work on, but I also know that you all have a long list too, because I've heard from several of your faculty already. I share that because I will honor that. I will always lead this work with humility to learn from all of you. And it's the work that I've led at the statewide level by empowering other people and really leading the transformation in 4 key areas. Do we all agree on a vision, and do we have clarity? Do we have agreement on our processes and how we will mobilize this? And what happens when we reach problems? Have we thought about how we are going to solve our problems? And then the most important element for me, do we have relationships internally? Do we trust each other? And have we secured enough of the coalitions to help us be successful? That's what makes a difference. That is the type of leader that I would be, but I would be honored to serve you and to work alongside you and really serve our students with the social justice lens and holding myself accountable for that work.
Thank you. In the remaining time, do you have a closing statement or any final words you would like to say?
My mouth is running really dry, but I don't have closing statements other than to say thank you. No matter what happens next, I just want to say thank you, because you are the leaders that got an entire district through one of the worst global crises. And you are also the leaders that have increased enrollment in this community. So you are the future of this work. And I know when I meet your students, I visited all of your campuses. When I ask them what is making a difference, they have a list of like 5 people that have made a difference. So I know it's the faculty and staff who are the heart of this work. And it would be an honor to serve alongside you. Thank you.
Friendly reminder that you have until 3:30 tomorrow to fill